Hello, welcome to my Indigo reaction. We left off on a, in my opinion, optimistic-ish note with Closer. I would say really enjoyed that song. Paul is probably second or third favorite feature. I think Tablo is still my favorite. Erica might be second, and then Paul and Erica need to fight it out. But definitely enjoyed them a lot on that song. I definitely think Paul, in my opinion, was actually the highlight of that song. But we're gonna get into Change Part 2. I haven't heard Change in a while, not gonna lie. I do think I tend to not give enough credit to a lot of Namjoon's solo work pre-mono. And I mentioned in part one, but I'm considering revisiting Rap Monster because it's been, I don't even know how many years. I think maybe 2 3 since I last listened to it properly. So I'm potentially considering revisiting Rap Monster either on the channel or by myself. Let me know if you'd be interested in a Rap Monster revisit. But and I don't think Change was on Rap Monster, but it does definitely fall into the music prior to Mono, and it was featuring Wale. So I'm interested to see what he discusses on this. In the spirit of transparency, I have seen some discourse. I think I've seen the most discourse about the song in particular, but I don't want to get into that before I see for myself what it's about. So let's get into it. 3, 2, 1.
Things change, people change, everything change. Yeah.
This is very different. This album, I would say, has been very on the quieter, more chilled end. This is a very different sound. Okay, not complaining.
Things change, people change, everything change. Yeah.
It was kind of EDM
Things change, people change,
rocky.
everything change.
I like it though, instrumental.
Love change, friends change, everyone change. Yeah, it is no strange. That's the
Is
world
this
change.
Loki also one of my favorites?
I can't believe I loved you once. For me once, and
I said this in my discussion during Closer. There's I feel like it's such a joke, like a common joke in the fandom to be like, yeah, Norman's married with kids. But I think there's so many, not so many, but between this line and Closer, I don't know if that's happening anymore.
I can't believe I loved you once. For me once, and for me twice. Shame on you, yeah, shame on me. Think I lost my sanity. Chemistry.
This is another point that I think has come up quite a bit in Indigo. His discussions of not being mentally stable. I think it came up in Yoon. I feel like it came up in Yoon. I might be misremembering this, and I've been filming for a while now. I think it came up in Yoon. I don't know if there was another song as well. It wasn't just Yoon. There's another song, but I'm not remembering right now. I think All Day as well, maybe.
I can't believe I loved you once. For me once, and for me twice. Shame on you.
Okay, but this instrumental hits.
Think I lost my sanity. Chemistry we had for sure. Gradually we wanted more. They say you can't fix someone. Seems you got one fit you right. Fuck my interviews and years ago.
Ooh.
I'm all different, not that anymore.
Well, this instrumental is doing a lot.
Seems
Holy
you
shit.
got one fit you right. Fuck my interviews and years ago. I'm all different, not that anymore. Fuck that weak, you fuck all those are foes. What is stranger, I don't know this for. Change.
Bro, this song. This is giving me. The switch ups remind me kind of the way Stray Kids songs kind of switch up.
It's no strange. That's the world shit. Yeah. You gotta admit it. Don't you get it still? Someday a great grief will do come for you.
Okay, keys.
And then you're not tall. You can't love someone like I do. That's all I can say to you.
Namjoon really said fuck that person, hey, with those lines at the end. Okay, so I will say I do think I get somewhat why the song has inspired so much discourse, specifically with the whole, fuck my interviews from years ago. I do think I can somewhat see why people would feel put off by those lines and the whole feeling like Namjoon is, the whole discussion, right, about accountability and, holding people to what they say and expecting changed behavior and apologies and whatnot. And I think my opinion on Namjoon has always been this. I feel like there's no way that you can not change someone's mind. Obviously, everyone changes, as Namjoon said. But I feel like he's one of those people that your feelings are your feelings on him. I don't think there's any real debates or arguments you can really have with people if they're not a fan of him. And I don't think it's unfair to be put off by what he's done and said in the past. I think it's really, as a black woman, I get it. I very much get it, being put off by what he's done and him not explicitly apologizing for things, because we've gotten apologies, but they've been, let's be honest, they were not the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Precise? Not accurate. They felt vague, right? And again, this is not me trying to dredge up and get my pitchfork out at Namjoon. I wouldn't be here if I didn't like Namjoon, didn't love Namjoon. But I do think it's fair for some people to still have their reservations about him. I think it's really up to you how you choose to feel about him, and I'm, again, obviously incredibly biased. I'm not going to pretend I'm objective. I don't see the point in it. My feelings are my feelings, yours are yours. But I choose to believe that he is better now from what he's shown. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been nice to get a proper apology. It would have been nice, but I choose to believe that he's a better person now. I think that's kind of my, if someone needs to reference how I feel about him, I think that's the best way I can put it in terms of my feelings on him. And I'm not gonna debate people. I'm not gonna fight people on their feelings on him. I'm not gonna fight the but Namjoon people. Do what you're gonna do, dog. I will like Namjoon in peace. You can dislike Namjoon in peace or violence, however you want to do it. Well, not actual violence, by the way. I don't mean literal, you know how we always talk about choosing violence or whatever. I mean in that way. But yeah, I think that's how, I don't know. I think it's just a matter of, you're gonna feel how you feel. I really don't think Namjoon is one of those people that you can kind of be debated into feeling another way about. Again, people change their mind. I think that's also valid. You're not, a hypocrite for realizing that some of the stuff he's done and said is off-putting, and you're not a hypocrite for being like, hey, I'm choosing to forgive and look past, or not look past, but look at the person he is now, I guess, is my long-winded way of discussing those lines in particular in Change. That aside, very much angsty. I mean, given the discussion on Closer, it makes sense. I guess in my brain, it just feels so different because I'm doing part 1 and part 2, and I was like, okay, we're just starting off with angst like that, just out the gate. Okay, I did love the change-ups in this. Change is also one of my the change-ups. I see what you did there, Namjoon. But it's also another contender for a favorite, I think, on this album. I really like, instrumentally it might be my favorite, not gonna lie. It really might just be my favorite one instrumentally. I don't know why he felt the need to go hard like that. I appreciate it, but I don't know why he felt the need to go off in that way. And I mean, he is right. And I think this is also going to be a highly subjective thing, because I can be a little bit skeptical sometimes. I think it takes a while for me to really see that people have changed, and sometimes I find myself flip-flopping between whether I believe people can really change. And I think it's also, it depends on what we're discussing. It's not like it's less terrible or whatever, but I've seen people undone racism. I've seen people not be bigots anymore and actually change, and then I've also seen people pretend that they've changed, and then things come out that they haven't. So I don't know, I find myself almost flip-flopping in that regard. And I think, like I said, it also depends because there's certain things that I just think people cannot change on. Like I don't see a feasible way, and I don't want to talk about it because it's like some things are very very heavy, and I think this discussion portion is quite heavy enough as it is. But yeah, I don't know. I find myself going in between that. But anyway, lots of rambly thoughts about change aside, we're gonna move on to the next one. So I assume we're gonna be continuing in the angst because the next one's lonely. This is Change Your Part 2 also didn't have a feature, Wildflower doesn't have a feature. So there are 3 songs I think on here because I think the remaining ones do have features. So out of the 10, there's 3 that don't have features. Interesting. Anyways, I'm probably gonna get my feelings hurt. Let's get into Lonely. 3, 2. The guitar is back. Feels a little bit almost Latin-y. Same, bestie. Wow. Namjoon coming out. Is this the song I'll relate to the most? Maybe. Maybe All Day has competition now. I'm trapped in myself. Okay, yeah, this song is a little bit hitting a little bit too close to home. I tried a million times to let you go. So many memories are on the floor, and now I hate the cities I don't belong. Just wanna go. It's giving soul a little bit. I fucking lonely. Now I'm just on the so fucking lonely. Somebody call me. Babe, gotta tell you something. 나 모든 게 싫어졌어. Yeah, guess I wasted time. Fucking text and I hasten. 온종일 유튜브, Netflix. 그저 또 phone 속 데이터와 데이터. 매일 아침과의 rendezvous. 빨갛게 돌아가는 날 몰라. I shot a million stars to let you know. So many trivial thoughts are on the floor, and now I hate the buildings I don't even know. Just wanna go back home. I fucking lonely. Now I'm just on the so fucking lonely. Somebody call me. I'm fucking lonely. Now I'm just on the so fucking lonely. Somebody love me. Namjoon, Indigo is my favorite Namjoon project. I think Mono has been dethroned. I think that's what's happening here. I think this has replaced All Day for my favorite song lyrically. I think this is the song that definitely resonates the most with me. Yeah, well, like it's super depressing right now, but I've touched on it briefly on my channel, but like I'm very vocal about 2022 being an awful year for me. It is easily the worst year of my life, and I think a lot of why that was just I was not doing well psychologically, and I think Lonely touches on a lot of the reasons why, because As Namjoon has said throughout this album, being alone with your thoughts is scary, especially when you're not doing well psychologically. It's not fun, it's not great. And isolating yourself from people makes it worse. So yeah, loneliness I think is an emotion I'm very intimately familiar with. So I know I did the whole haha same when he started, but yeah, like actually, yeah, it's I don't know. It ebbs and flows. Like sometimes it's better than others, but I don't know. I think loneliness is a bit of a constant in my life. Like I do think there are periods. It was definitely a lot better. I'm gonna say it's all been awful, and I do have people in my life I care about and that care about me and that I can reach out to. But yeah, sometimes your brain just hates you. That's it. That's the thought. Your brain just hates you. But no, I enjoy a lot of the upbeat songs. And again, this one was definitely one of the more chilled vein that I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about how thrown off I was by the instrumental of Change Part 2. But this is definitely I think Still Life is still definitely a strong contender for my favorite. But I do think Lonely, All Day and You are also very incredibly strong competitions for my favorite songs so far. And Lonely is definitely the one that resonates with me the most. And I think that's obviously a big factor as to why it's a strong competition for one of my favorites. Yeah, shout out to Namjoon for hurting my feelings. I mean, I knew it was gonna come because of the the title just kind of gave it away, but okay. So the next song is Hectic featuring Cold. I assume that's how you say it. I don't know how else you could potentially say it, but I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I don't want to say about Dolly. It definitely makes sense that he wanted to be alone on that one, given the subject matter. It makes a lot of sense. So you could argue it exemplifies the loneliness, him being by himself on that one, but I'm not gonna get all humanity student on it. It's fine. But let's get into Hectic 3-2. Before we do I, given the title, should I anticipate kind of a change part 2, like it being wild and all over the place? I'm not sure. Maybe. But let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Okay, drums. Where are we going?
Yesterday was a hard time. There was nothing romantic.
I feel like we've been discussing romance a lot in the past 1, 2, 3, potentially 4 songs now. Like it's been very central in the conversation. Who hurt my man?
There was nothing romantic. If I can just find a reason to keep this endless chase. Yesterday was a hard day. There was nothing romantic.
Why does this feel almost like disco-y to me?
There was nothing romantic. If I could only imagine, just want another heaven.
That's cute.
할 말이 없는 사람들을 돌고 도는 liquid talks 하루 더 죽어가는 느낌 밤에 올림픽대로 영영한 불빛 난폭한 택시 이젠 지겨워져 Not people hate the reason If pointing is blind how should we do the sky kept on thinking and I yesterday was a hot day there was nothing romantic if I can just find a reason to keep this endless chase yesterday was a hot day there was nothing romantic if I could only imagine just want another heaven yeah 어디로 가는지도 모르게 적어 내려갔던 시도
어느덧 걸어온 그 길이 되었네 지난 기억 속에
I like
더
it.
이상
Yeah, but Cole is singing.
지난 기억 속에 더 이상 길을 잃고 싶지 않은 날좀 구해줘
Okay. Better drag. Better drag.
talking same shit had the reason got the outspin if burning is a pain how should we do this again keep on thinking and now
Okay, but I like Cole's voice. The features Namjoon has chosen on this album? Okay. I like the horns in the back.
yes that was acting that was nothing romantic if I could only imagine just want another heaven
Yo, hangover's over. 관능적인 이 도시의 포스처. 슬픈 밤 서울을 위한 녹턴. 우린 알면서 또 하루를 놓쳐.
에이, 행복이란 뭘까 그토록 바래왔던 작은 평화 마음이 빛바랜 자들을 떠나 마침내 우리가 수놓은 벽방
꿈을 꾸듯 눈을 감아 지그시 숨을 참아 숨을 추는 사람들의 걸음은 곡선으로 oh, yeah.
흘러가는 걸 붙잡을 수는 없대도
We still love and hate this city, yeah.
Listen, so have I said this during any of these reactions? I love Soul. Soul is my favorite solo song that Namjoon has released. I love Soul. I cannot put into words how much I love that song. I almost screamed when I saw he performed it on the Tiny Desk because I looked at the track list. I haven't watched it yet, but I know he performed Soul. I think it's Soul, Yoon, and Still Life potentially, or maybe All Day. One of those two, I think, but I might be completely off. Watch it be fucking closer, and I'm just completely wrong. But anyways, I love Soul, and I was like, am I just being a Soul stan? Am I seeing parallels between Hectic and Soul because I want to see them, or is he intentionally making them? Because him talking about like specifically the people around him, and obviously he lives in Seoul now, putting him off and him wanting to go home. And I think he specifically means Ilsan. Pretty sure that's where Namjoon is from. I could be wrong, but I think it's Ilsan in particular. And so I was like, is it giving Soul, or am I just too much of a Soul stan to separate my thoughts and feelings about that song from other Namjoon songs? But no, I do think there was a very, in my opinion, I think there's a very clear parallel, I guess, going on between Hectic and Soul, and him just not liking the people, not liking the buildings. I think he even mentioned in the song, and specifically the whole like I want to go home line. Everyone here is terrible. I feel shitty here. I just want to go back to what I know and what I'm familiar with. And you know, home and where you're from has its negatives for sure, but I think at this point Namjoon would rather deal with the potential negatives of his home in Ilsan versus, you know, everything he's had to endure in Seoul. And another topic I've been seeing pop up a little bit as well is the kind of almost deluding yourself, kind of lying to yourself. There's a lot of, you know, just like dreaming and wanting your reality to be different, and specifically seeking out that different reality in your dreams. Maybe deluding is harsh. Maybe that was a little bit harsh, but I guess dreaming about a better reality than the one you currently live in. Almost an escapism. I think that's the word I'm looking for actually, like a want for escape in has popped up as well quite a bit throughout this album. I think definitely in others, definitely not Hectic, but I think it showing here, I can't speak. It popping up here has kind of reinforced that there's another discussion that he's definitely touching on quite a bit. I'm not, okay, Hectic, how do I feel? Hectic is okay, I think. I like the bridge. I did like that going back and forth between Namjoon and Cold. I think that's probably my favorite part of the song. It's okay. I think it might be just a little bit above Forgetful. I would do like a rough ranking. I'd honestly put it above Forgetful, but I don't know if I put it above any other song. It's fine. Do enjoy Cold's voice. I think they have a really cool voice, very warm, almost a little bit melodic. Really enjoy it. But yeah, it's okay. Like, I don't know. I don't think I have like super duper strong feelings about Hectic, at least right now. Watch in a week from now will be my favorite song on the album. Who knows? But yeah, right now I'm kind of just okay with Hectic. Being really honest. We are at the final song, number 2. Interesting title, especially for a song that's the last one on the album. Very intrigued to whatever. Both the discussion that's going to go on here. Park Ji-yoon. Their name sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know if I'm just like confusing them with someone else, or maybe I've heard their name somewhere, but it sounds vaguely familiar. But I might just be completely off here. But either way, we're at the end of a very enjoyable, for the most part, body of work. Very introspective, discussion heavy, which I think could kind of on brand. I will say I was surprised by the romance talk on this one. I'm not gonna lie, that definitely did catch me off guard a little bit. Not catch me off guard, more so surprised me, I suppose. But anyway, we're gonna get more into final thoughts when I actually finish the album. But number 2, final song on Indigo. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I like their words. The drums. Guitar? Is that a guitar? I thought it was faintly in the back. Sounds like guitar. Might be wrong. We're also be getting quite a bit of singing Namjoon on this album. Okay, damn. I smile that I ain't gotta prove myself. Period. That I hate the one, that I hate the shit. 그저 희정이 고프던 어린 아이 이젠 노비정이 더 잘 어울릴 말 나로 가득 차 터져버린 나의 풍선 터지고 완건 그 안은 텅 비어있었단 거 끝없이 물었네 그냥 흘러도 되는 거야 속하고 싶지 않던데 속해도 되는 거야 영원할 것 같은 멜로디 그래 난 나의 fan. I think there was a lot in these past few lines just now from Namjoon. But now that I think about it, taking in the broader album, having obviously the perspective of all the other songs, I think a lot of this has also been, or not a lot, but a common theme that I'm saying, or common discussion, is Namjoon maybe not trying to make peace, or maybe in his own way trying to reconcile with where he finds himself, both quite literally physically, as we saw in Hectic with Living in Seoul and the people around him, but also where he is career-wise. And I spoke about it quite a lot in the first part. I can't remember which song it was now. That's annoying. But I had a whole like discussion about, you know, the level of fame that Namjoon has, because it's humongous, and BTS have been quite candid about how it's a lot of pressure being the group that they are, and like I couldn't even imagine being any one of them, let alone the leader of BTS, and the restrictions that come along with just being an idol but being a member of BTS and being the leader of BTS. And I think part of this album is Namjoon kind of trying to reconcile, almost grapple with that. 있었단 거 끝없이 물었네 그냥 흘러도 되는 거야 속하고 싶지 않던데 속해도 되는 거야 영원할 것 같은 멜로디 그래 난 나의 felony 여태껏 배운 건 겨우 한 가지 I'll be forever 필연이라 믿었던 그 모든 사고 영겁처럼 길었던 그 모든 밤도 최선을 Is he doing it himself here? Yeah, but I really like their voice. It's pretty warm. Yeah, I think what feels like it's giving low key all day again. It feels like he's talking to himself here. Maybe he's trying to encourage another person, but it feels, I don't know, given the broader context, I'm gonna go with he's talking to himself, where they're both talking to maybe themselves or they're talking to Namjoon. Especially, what is the line? You will protect yourself now, because we've seen him go through so many hardships, and pretty, in a way, cool, because we kind of get to see some timelines and some moments in his life that he's been vulnerable with in his music. And I think with those terrible low moments, because life is full of lessons, whether you want to learn them or not, you kind of learn how to handle them and deal with them. So that's how I interpret at least the "you will protect yourself now" line. And with all the, garbage thrown his way, he's kind of eventually learned how to cope with it.
No looking back, no, no looking back. Don't look back no more. No looking back, no, no looking back. 이제 네가 널 지켜줄 거야.
Okay, this is a very interesting, neat-ish ribbon to end off this album with the tie off Indigo. I'm sitting mono. Whoa. So, I'm trying to collect my thoughts because there are different ideas. So when I express now, I did talk about kind of coping, hopefully healthy coping mechanisms he may have found to deal with all that he's expressed, the pressure of being, RM of BTS, the trying to figure out who Kim Namjoon is, trying to reconcile and make peace with Namjoon, RM, the responsibilities that specifically come with being RM, being a musician with thoughts and feelings and opinions and whatnot that you either just want to express as an individual, speaking your speakings or in your music. The discussions we've had about, relationships and them going badly, and how to healthily deal with that and all of that. And I think why I say this is such I say neat-ish, because it's not like your problems just disappear after you've gone through your 20s or whatnot, but I can see why he has kind of said that this is specifically kind of a little bit of a time capsule, if you will, for his 20s, right? You do learn, obviously, I hope, as someone in their 20s right now, a lot of about yourself and how you deal with situations. Not to say you can't grow or you can't be confronted with new situations later in your life, but I do think your 20s is very much learning and adapting to adulthood, and from being a young adult to someone who's very much in their 20s as well. And that's why I also brought up coping mechanisms and whatnot, because I feel like a lot of people kind of build those and establish them in their 20s, and that's why I spoke about it so heavily, when it came to the whole "you protect yourself" discourse, and the whole very blatantly being not looking back. I feel like, again, it's not like you're it's very, how am I trying to articulate this thought? Your life is not periodized. It's not like everything in your 20s is going to be separate from everything in your 30s is going to be separate from everything in your 40s. Like, I don't think that's a realistic way to look at life, but I can see wanting some aspects of them, of your life and what you've experienced, to be left in your 20s, and I think some of it kind of should be. Like, I think there are certain lessons that you learn at certain ages, more typical for certain ages, if you will, and I think that's partially what he was referencing with the whole no longer looking back. And specifically thinking of songs like Change, not feeling as guilty for who he, not who he was. I don't like this whole separating yourself from your past thing, but actions and words he said, and him making peace with that. He knows that those are no longer feelings and opinions he holds, and he knows, even outside of songs like Change, but knowing that he has grown and changed based on these various experiences that we've touched on in this body of work, and him being like, it's okay now. Like, I don't need to rehash this. Might come up because, again, life isn't all neat, and you don't just get to leave things in the past and never encounter them again more often than not. But more so him being like, it happened. These things are things I went through and I felt and I experienced. I would ideally like to leave them in my 20s, and they're very much a depiction of what I was going through in my 20s, but I'm no longer going to linger on them. I think that's what I'm trying to articulate, not trying to hold on to those past feelings, experience, actions, words, and so forth. So I'm also kind of like okay with this one. Like, it's definitely kind of middle of the road for me on this album, I'm not gonna lie, but I do appreciate its purpose, if that makes sense, in the broader context of Indigo. I understand why it's lost, and I appreciate the purpose. Again, featured artists went off, really enjoyed their voice as well. But yeah, it's definitely probably going to be more of a middle of the road song for me, not gonna lie. But finally listened to Indigo. It took me long enough, better late than never, but I'm here.